right. We're going to start our CDBG Citizens Advisory Committee meeting for September 18th, 2024, 1:30. Roll call. I'm going to start down here with you, John.
John Paris here.
Debbie Savoini here.
Deborah Miller here.
Ginger Cutting here.
Jim Howell here.
Janie Evans here.
And Marion Settles chair. We're going to now approve the minutes from the June 19th meeting. It's been a couple of months, folks, since we met. It's nice to see everybody back. So with that, if you were able to get those minutes, I need a motion to accept.
I move to accept the meeting minutes from June 19th, 2024.
That would be Deb Miller. I need a second.
I second Ginger Cutting.
And it's been moved and seconded. Board members, if you all agree, hands up. And it looks like it's unanimous, so the minutes are taken care of. Presentation and review of the CDBG Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Caper. That will be you, Michael.
That's correct. Thank you, Madam Chair. Michael McInnes, Community Development Department. And we have a few things, just a couple things actually on today's agenda. Reviewing our caper and a presentation discussion of our upcoming 5-year consolidated plan. Let's get into talking about the capers. What the caper is our end of year report that we submit to HUD showing our accomplishments over the year regarding our CDBG program. So, and I'm going to give you some numbers. In a lot of ways, this is kind of checking the box. Everything in that report will be presented to council next Tuesday at their voting session. It will be on their regular agenda, so I'll have a chance to get up and speak in front of council, share about the CDBG program. I'll have some accomplishment narrative, but also a lot of pictures. Usually pictures are really, really great to show the council as well as the community of what this program has been doing. Today, I don't have any pictures in this slides. It's more numbers and just kind of giving you a good feel or a good idea where we're at with our money. So, so the first slide I have here is all the money that we currently have. This does not include our upcoming program year, the annual action plan that was accepted by council a few months ago. We haven't received final go-ahead. So this is going from 2020 to 2023. I'm going to cover some of these numbers, and I'm going to try this highlight thing. Okay. Look at that, huh? So our total balance, this is what is available for us as CDBG goes, is over $500,000, okay? This is money that has been in our account since 2020. And I'm going to go over the details of why we have this size balance. There's good reasons for it. Our current balance for this last program year is still fairly high. You know, it's over $166,000 that we haven't spent. And as well as we have a large balance from 2022, and I'll get into that in just a second. Okay. And I can come back, or at least I think I can come back. Let me see. Yeah. All right. Let's look at this year specifically. On the left-hand side of the spreadsheet, you have all the projects, including we had 5 activities that fell under the public service umbrella, and then we had three activities that fell under the construction part of CDBG. And again, remember, construction is where HUD wants us to spend most of the money. And even though a lot of times, a lot of years, it's public service that there seems to be a higher demand for the money to be used for, but we're capped out at 15% of our total amount. Last year, 2023, this is what we were granted. Okay, and that doesn't, the money, we don't get a big lump sum into our general fund account, or we have a grant account through the city. It's basically when an activity or a project sends the city an invoice, we pay them and then we get reimbursed by HUD. So there's no money just sitting in some city account. We have to have the activity happen first. This is how much we spent over the year. Right there, top line item is the program administration of $51,150.80. That is pays my salary here at the city and managing this program. The next few are all public service. You can see all the public services activities have been completely spent. So they need to get that done by June 30th of each year. So we're able to get that money spent pretty quick. The holdup usually is in our construction projects. The first one was the NASCAR New Hope Wellness Center, the U.S. Vets Officer Quarters, and then the minor home repair program, totaling that much right there. Update on the New Hope Wellness Center. It's a rehabilitation project. It just it's a transitionary facility / they hold mental health like groups, outpatient level of care kind of stuff. They just started 2 weeks ago. Construction projects have 3 years to complete their projects from when they get granted the money. So there's no issue there. I think they'll be done within the next 60 days. The next project, U.S. Vets Officer Quarters, this has been a project that's been out there for a while. And it's a very complicated project. I'll jump into the next slide as well. 2022, you'll see right up on the top, one of our construction projects was the U.S. Vets Officer Quarters for about the same amount, and we still haven't spent any of that money. So what is going on with that project? Well, it's a lot of starts and stops. This project is in association with a new construction building for homeless vets on the VA campus, so they're trying to do both these projects at the same time. Our CDBG money is specifically for appliances and the purchase of appliances to go into or be installed into 6 officer quarter properties. And if you're familiar, if you've made it up to the VA campus, they're on the historic registry. They were built in I think 1908 or 1909. So anyway, they're depending on our money. They're depending on Arizona Department of Housing money, a lot of other funding sources. I think there are 5 or 6 different entities or organizations trying to make this project happen. Yes, Ms. Cutting.
So question, you have 261,818.63, one for 2022 and one for 2023.
Yes, ma'am.
So that total amount, 122,000 or whatever, is for the appliances for 6 properties?
That's right. It's a whole slew of different appliances going into the kitchens, bathrooms, all furnishing. I guess getting these buildings up to speed and ready for senior homeless vets, I think, is the target. So, and we have a full scope of work. Like they have it broken down. It'll probably have to be updated because I think they've sent it to us a couple times over the years, thinking we're about to start, and then all of a sudden, so they can't go over the 120,000 for these programs. It sounds like a lot when you just say it's just for appliances, but when you look at their full scope, it's quite a bit of equipment and stuff like that. So. And so that is kind of, I wanted to share this with you because this is a big part of the caper. HUD wants to know where we're at, and this is big picture kind of stuff. And I don't think I've shared this since I've been here, shared kind of this information. Usually it's reserved for HUD and the department I work in when we look at projects. So yes.
So the question I have is on this youth program. Are they going to draw that down?
They are not. They are not. They missed that window. If you see money that has not been spent, now what happens to it is sometimes it's a public service. Okay, so they really have the year to spend it, right? There's like a 90-day window after the June 30th deadline, but if they don't spend it, it gets sucked back into the program. We can't ever apply it to public service because that'll bust up our cap for that specific year, but it can go into construction. We've done this in the past where we had existing balances, and we applied it to our minor home repair program and whatnot. So that's what that is. Yeah. And I think it's good to see, the CAC awards money, and the expectation is that they spend this money. I'm not sure what happened in this case. This was before my arrival, but this was something when we were doing an audit of the accounting, something that popped up. And but again, we can still use it in the future. Yes.
So admin adjustments?
Yes. So admin adjustments, that was working with HUD regarding our administrative fee. HUD wanted us to look specifically at this number and made sure it, I guess, was transparent with their system. So HUD required us to make this adjustment, which worked in our favor as in increasing our balance. So that was guidance from our HUD rep specifically on that piece. And those are the only just program year 2023 and 2022. The last thing that I can say, and this is not in the caper, but I'm going to add it. It just happened. It just finished. Was the Agape House? We funded them for 3 years. Major rehab project. It finally ended. They did all their work. It is a complete project. So on Tuesday, I'll be talking a lot about that and really saying, hey, it's a transitional living space for families. And so I think that'll be a good one to present to council next Tuesday. So these construction projects can take some time. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about, this number. That's a big chunk. 2020, we were granted $427,000. This is the COVID money. Okay, this is the Prescott Cares program that's administered by the Prescott Chamber of Commerce. The chamber was able to spend, close to $170,000, still had $258 or $59,000 left. We have a new contract with the city. We're ready to start funding that program again, and which is great because U.S. Vets has a homeless outreach program, and they really need the funds. And we're going to start, reimbursing them for what they're doing, in the next couple weeks, most likely. And that amount is going to go down fairly quickly, I think. So we're tackling it.
Mike, is the reason the U.S. vets are getting the rest of that COVID money besides another business, family type of thing? They've gone through all of that for the last 4 years, and it's finished.
Right. The U.S. Vets is that's correct. You're talking about, Madam Chair. They had some COVID funding on their own.
Yes.
And they expended it. They expended it all, and they really want to try to keep this homeless outreach program going. HUD is allowing us more flexibility with what we can do with that money, and so a big portion of that is going towards U.S. vets, 127,000 of it. So, and we'll be talking more about it as we get going. Prescott Cares program, and I'll have Ms. Sherry Heine with the chamber come in and present on it as well, so everybody knows what is going on with it. Okay. Any other questions about where we're currently at? I like spreadsheets. I don't know. I think it helps. So, all right. That's it on the CAPER. Any questions about the CAPER or any thoughts? Again, this is a draft. This is a good opportunity. If there is something you want me to change or something you want to highlight when I do talk to council, now is the time I can give you, a couple minutes if needed. Any thoughts?
Michael, I'm always troubled when money is allocated to a project and action doesn't take place. And to me, this money's been there too long. Mm-hmm. And at some point in time, from my experience, the feds will come back and say, we want our money back, right, or something along those lines. Do you have a feeling that by June 30th of this next year that the money will be spent? And the second question is there any pressure on these groups to spend their money? Because it just seems to me if you haven't spent it, you didn't need it.
Right. So on the public service side, good question. I appreciate it. You get the money, you need to spend it. It's not unusual with construction projects that it does take a bit of time to get going. Not to say some added pressure to some of those projects wouldn't hurt. I think it took us. Our last big project was the Community Nature Center Trail. And that took some time too, especially when there was a lot of different avenues to it. Well, the one thing I would say, if there's a public service allocation, like in this case you see with the youth program, and I'm not sure why that wasn't spent. I came in kind of afterwards, kind of seeing where everything was at. Again, I think this is good information to have, when we go through our application process and some of these non-for-profits come forward. And if they weren't able to spend their money for whatever reason, that is something I think to keep in mind when we choose projects or when the CAC chooses projects and activities. So, the other flip side, or the other part of that, some of these programs had a really hard time spending money through COVID. New Horizons didn't spend a lot of their money because all of us, that was from 3 years ago. They lost money because they just couldn't, they weren't doing rides because their population was an elder population. So did that answer your question? What? Sort of, yeah.
It's troubling.
Yeah. And the U.S. Vets Officer Quarters, the biggest problem with that has been bureaucracy. So it's not U.S. Vets. This is...
I certainly understand it's on Fed property.
Yeah, it is. It has been a nightmare. Yes, Chair.
Kate, the question to tag along with Jim, let's take... the 3-year program from Agape.
Yes.
They came in, they presented, they needed what they'd done, and that's a success story.
Right.
But then again, we have a number that drag their feet because of issues they don't necessarily control.
Right.
Do we put a cap on any of this? I don't think we've ever gone over 5 years, and I haven't questioned the 5.
Right. So with construction projects, they have to spend the money within 3 years, or they lose it, and it goes back into the pot. There was, I think, more answering your question, Mr. Howe, is the Fed, would they ever take the money back? We had a lot of questions about the COVID money. And I think, I don't know, that could definitely be, that could definitely be something that could happen. The government, the federal government, knows how much money is still out there. We're not unique with an outstanding. There's a lot more other communities that have a lot more money outstanding than we do. And part of the reason why the feds kind of made it more flexible, we have 2 years to spend it, though, and then they will take it back. So March of 2026, if this amount is not spent, that 258,960, they will take it back. So that is something that we need to be aware of.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Michael, does HUD still have that ability for you to put in for extensions if a project is running over 6-9 month extensions on a project, if they can prove that there's an issue that's forcing them to be longer than their original contract date?
I haven't run into it yet, but I imagine it's something I would look into. I haven't had that experience of a project taking more than 3 years. For public service, they do give you 3 extra months. So, but usually that money's spent pretty quick. Good. Questions, caper suggestions, recommendations? Sorry, I'm talking a lot. I wasn't going to do it. Okay. Okay. Madam Chair, ready to move on? Okay. Yeah, no, I'll go on into our next item.
All right, so
No
that's
action is
covered.
needed.
Next is presentation and discussion regarding the upcoming CDBG 5-year consolidated plan.
Okay. So our 5-year consolidated plan, this is a plan that's done every 5 years, and it's meant for the next 5 years. Okay. We're finishing up our last year, and we're looking at, this will be our con plan for 2025 to 2029. So kind of, especially for the new members of the CAC, good time to be, join this. This is some heavy duty work that goes into this plan. And this is my first one. So, yeah, my first. Yes, Ms. Savioni.
Okay, so I have the last 5-year plan.
Yes.
And it says it ends June 30th, 2024. So
Yeah.
we're like a whole year, a week.
That's incorrect. So that's
Okay.
Yeah. No, I saw that too. And I was calling up my HUD rep. It's like, hey, what's the no? So this next year, this 5-year plan starts on July 1st, 2025. Okay, it's at the same time as our annual action plan. Annual action plan is part of that 5-year con plan that gets submitted to HUD. All right. Describes community needs, resources, priorities, and proposed activities. What goes into a successful con plan? Well, a lot of it is citizen participation, how much we do and engage the citizenry of Prescott, utilizing consultation. And I'm going to go more into detail on most of these points here in a minute. Collecting community information data. A big piece of this committee is identifying the priorities, what y'all want to do, what y'all think is important with the information that's collected, the citizen participation, what we should do with the CDBG money over the next 5 years, and then finally providing a strategy. Overarching goal of HUD, this is taken right out of the manual. I'm going to read it. I think it's important. HUD's community planning and development programs like CDBG covered by the consolidated plans is to develop viable urban communities by providing decent housing, suitable living environment, and expanding economic opportunities, principally for low and moderate income persons. Okay. This is made this pie chart here, hopefully to help visualize this process, what we're going to be doing over the year. First phase is us talking initial research and planning. That's where we start. Again, big piece community outreach, evaluating that public and partner input. And then we get to, with that information, identifying the needs and priorities and start putting that into a plan. At the same time, we're working on our annual action plan. At the same time, again, this will probably be towards the spring. Draft a con plan with the annual action plan, May, June timeframe. Start submitting it to the council, I'm thinking in June of this year. Is what it's going to look like. I'm going to get this PowerPoint to everybody as well, since there's a lot of information and visuals. Okay. Some slides about the different parts. So citizen participation. HUD wants a lot of citizen participation, and that is a major part, or it includes involvement from the CAC. What that looks like is we'll, of course, have public meetings, most likely our already scheduled public meetings of once a month, and also hearings where we'll have opportunities to hear from the public. Hopefully we can get the public to come to some of those meetings and tell us what they think. Another big piece this year, and it is every year, is the needs workshop. It happens in October, November timeframe. We might be doing more of those this year. Again, appreciate any feedback from the committee, especially the existing members that have gone through this process before, of what worked, what didn't work so much. The other piece of that is looking at public engagement. Here are just ideas, and I think what I found in previous con plans, web-based surveys, public announcements through the Daily Courier, social media or city social media platforms, radio, PAs, stakeholder meetings. Again, we might try to get some time with the CIP. Again, I can't remember what the CIP stands for, but it's a group of our local non-for-profits that get together monthly. What we can do as a CAC is schedule a time to, it doesn't have to be everybody, but maybe a couple representatives to be there. I can present at the CIP and hear a lot of their feedback, what's going on with the non-for-profits, where are they struggling, what are their needs. I think that would be a good opportunity. City website, open houses, and with that, always, this is the opportunity for the CAC to brainstorm, let me know, like, hey, why don't we try this year? Anything you guys think. So, and I can, if anything comes to mind right now, I can write it down now, or as we're going through this process. Citizen participation is going to be the next 3 to 4 months, maybe a little bit longer. Emailing me or talking about it in a future meeting, but something I think we gotta really start ironing out sooner rather than later. So, any immediate thoughts on that one?
This is the same cue we have done for a number of years.
Okay.
It would be nice to try to stretch out and do something else, whether it's more public workshops, more attending the CIP meetings, because these are the applicants that come to us. If you've ever attended one of those meetings, you'll see every one of those nonprofits at one time or another have applied. So I don't know exactly or what avenue, but to try to get out to some different organizations than that same group that we have each year.
Okay.
We're certainly open for suggestions because it's not recreating the wheel, folks. It really is. It's just expanding on what we can do.
What has worked in the past? Like, what have y'all seen that was kind of effective means?
They ran articles in the Courier.
Yeah.
I think at one time, and I don't know if we still do, have a web page you can get to.
Yes, we do. We have a new website. So
Because again, getting that information out or getting that, what is it, that RQ window, trying to get something out different than what we've done.
Okay. Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
One suggestion might be the Rotary clubs that are in town, Michael, because the people who attend that, they generally have some kind of a touch with a nonprofit. So it may not be nonprofits that we're aware of. Maybe it's a smaller nonprofit, or they may know about a need in the construction for something like that. So I would definitely reach out to the Rotaries here in town.
Yes.
So in looking at the last year, I was just reviewing the needs assessment for information, and it was done for about a month, and there were only 193 responses
For the last
for the last needs assessment. And there was many, many ways they reached out to the community, but it's still, it's hard to get people to respond. And I think we do need to look at other,
Okay.
especially for basing our program on the needs.
Madam Chair, so does the stakeholder meetings, the CIP, is that pretty much the consistent same groups?
Usually, and they don't always attend everyone, but there are different groups that is open to all of them. They're contacted. They know when that date is. Mike, you've attended them.
Yes.
Our city attorney has attended them. I went to a number of them from United Way. So they are different, but HUD's tough to deal with. You have so many loops and fences you have to go through. Not everybody wants to do a financial. Not everybody has an audit. I mean, so this sort of disqualifies them because you can't come in without it.
So does CIP have a website?
No. No, they don't. They have, it's at least not one that I found. I can't remember the outfit that sets it up. Solari. But there's one lady, one representative specifically that organizes it each month, affiliated with one of the organizations within this group. I can always, it's open to the public, so I can always forward that to the committee and just be like, here's who's going, here's what it looks like.
So could we ask to be advertising on that?
So what they do is, and we've done this with the minor home repair program. It's basically email blasting. So we have an announcement. I send it to the CIP liaison, and what she does is she blasts everybody in the network with information like this. So no website or anything. I'm pretty sure I don't think they have one. So email blast.
They've been held at the library downstairs, and they normally have one of the nonprofits centered to give their analysis of their program each meeting. So you get a little idea, but everybody goes around the table, says who they are, what they do, type of thing. It's that great networking for each one of those nonprofits and housing and transportation are their biggest issues. Trying to get done, so if one can't, does somebody else help, or that kind of deal. So they certainly partner up.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So, and so that'll be definitely an avenue, is coordinating with them, doing a CDBG presentation, and having, at least 2 or maybe 3. I don't know when we go over the open meeting law. I think it's 4, but 3 of the members of the committee there meet and greet and share about the program. So anyway, that any other questions? Again, this isn't our final. This is ongoing, but one of the biggest piece that the CAC will be involved in is the citizen participation piece. Okay. Consultation, data collection, and reporting. These are other parts of the con plan. We're not hiring it. We're not spending any money hiring a consultant to do the con plan for us. Most communities do. We haven't in our past, mainly because we're pretty small entitlement community. I think we're one of the smallest entitlement communities in Arizona. So we're all doing this in-house. So with me and you guys, with a lot of help and support. However, the city we are completing with a consultant. We haven't chosen that consultant yet, a housing needs assessment, which is going to be a big piece of this. The last housing needs assessment that the city conducted was back in 2017, so it's due basically, and there's going to be a lot of good information and data regarding that. It is being paid for with a grant that we have from Arizona Department of Housing. We got $200,000 regarding workforce housing. So it's our workforce housing committee that applied for this grant, and we're going to use it once it's completed. So I'm a part of that. We just got our final bids in on Monday, and now we got to select the bid, and they should be done by March. The time frame is March. We have a new housing needs assessment. So, and it looks like the consultants that the options we have, they look really good. They're going to be very professional, well done reports, whoever we choose. Other consultation is fairly generic. I rely on personally, since I'll be doing a lot of the paperwork or paper pushing, is HUD guidance. I have a new HUD rep that just starts on Friday, or going to meet with her on Friday and talk about the plan and what the expectations are. Making sure, my job is to make sure we're in compliance, we're good to go with HUD, we don't get in trouble for whatever reason. Arizona Department of Housing is another resource if needed. We've worked a lot with them over the last year, especially with workforce housing. And other regional partners, might be consulting the county, maybe Prescott Valley. Prescott Valley is starting a CDBG program. So and the person in charge of it is very experienced and an excellent resource for me personally. So that's what that contains. Data collection and reporting. Well, it's good we're getting this housing needs assessment, because there's going to be a lot of data in that assessment that we'll be able to use. So we have data. That's going to be another part of my job, filling the con plan with important data that'll help the committee make their decisions. Also, HUD has a lot of resources when it comes to data and reporting. They have a GIS map. Just to give you an example, a GIS map or mapping tool on the HUD website that allows you to really hone in on a community like Prescott and figure out which areas are considered LMI, and that can really help us with, and for those familiar, some of those areas in Prescott include the Dexter neighborhood. I think it actually might be a little bit more, and it'd be good to have those areas, everyone being aware of them. So. And then the last piece of that is survey data. I'm going to we are pretty experienced now working on our general plan. We're finishing up our general plan, but we did a lot of surveys in regards to that, using that experience to really push online surveys and see if we can get a better response than we did with the last con plan. But again, a lot of that will be in my realm. Any questions on this one, on this slide? Any concerns, any thoughts?
I was just going to say, I am looking so forward to the updated report.
Yes.
2017 to 2024 is a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. It is. Okay. We're almost there. So as the CAC goes, two big parts, the two big responsibilities, of course, the city citizen participation plan, which I already spoke to. The other big part is finally, with all this information, all this participation, coming up with the priorities. What is the next 5 years going to look like when it comes to CDBG? And that is what you guys are going to do once you have all the information that you need. So I'm hoping that we're really, nail this down late spring at the latest. And priorities derive from, like I already said that. What else can I say about any of this? We'll be reviewing, the previous con plans, what they look like when we come up with our priorities. Are we going to keep a lot of it the same, or are we going to go in a new direction? And, still being only, a year and a half in this position, I do think there's a lot of opportunities. I do think there's a lot of new things that we can do with this money. One of the what excites me, and I don't know if it's possible, again, might be some heavy lifting, is this Section 108 loan. Again, it looks like we only get about $250,000 a year, right? In the scheme of things, that's not that much money. But HUD is pushing for this. You can take a loan of 4 or 5 years of your CDBG allotment and really front end it. So instead of having 250, you could have, $1.25 million to do towards a project. Okay, but still a lot of things to consider with doing something like that. So again, how would it work? You pay it back through your CDBG funds over the year. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that CDBG, we wouldn't be funding projects. It just would be a smaller amount, but we would be paying that loan off in like 10 to 15 years. Means you also have to keep a CDBG program going, okay? Because if it's not, then it's the city paying that loan. So just a lot of things to consider, but if we wanted to do a big project, especially in the housing realm, that might be an opportunity. Also put workforce housing. Now, HUD has pretty strict regulations with CDBG funds around new construction. You can't use this money for new construction. However, this money can be used towards infrastructure. In a certain development that might be tailored or focused for workforce or affordable housing, and whether that's, again, a bit above my pay grade, but a lot of money, getting the plumbing. And Jim, you might have better understanding of this than I do, the infrastructure that would go into plumbing and electrical and everything, getting them tied into the city. So, so there might be opportunities with workforce housing and what we can do there to support them.
Well, that seems to be the buzzword, Michael. Everything out there is having to do with workforce housing, affordable housing, low income housing. There's projects throughout, not just our area, but Chino, Prescott Valley, and such. But again, CDBG pulls away from that to try to fund some other things doing with it, and I'll use that Dexter project. We did streets and lights and part of a park to work on a neighborhood, and that was really a successful project, but it took a while.
Yeah. And that's like, again, I'm hoping with the, being able to hone in with some of their mapping resources, what other areas can we do those kind of projects with. But you're right, it sounded like it was a pretty, from what I'm hearing, it was a big project that took time.
My question, because you'll have to refresh me to get ready for this 5-year plan, the city will bring this to us as the board. We sort of begin to look at it, see what the queue is, where we are, and what we're doing.
Right.
Have a meeting by itself just on that.
So, like the specific process is starting right now. So that we're going to get going with what you'll be seeing from me is trying to organize a lot of the citizen participation piece. First being the needs workshop in October, and what I'm hearing is maybe we do more of those. And also organizing with the CIP, I'm going to start moving forward with that. And then whatever other directions or ideas I get from the committee regarding engaging the public. So I mean, this is my number one job right now. So I'm going to be very, very available, and this is what we'll be talking about in each meeting moving forward. So giving you updates on where we're at and what I need help with or what you guys need help with, making this happen.
So do we have an opportunity to advertise in social media?
Yes, there will be. I think the first part is, scheduling some of this stuff. So getting it out there, and whatever I'm presenting or preparing, running it through you guys. Whether that's an email or our next meeting, I could say, this is what I have lined up. Do we have any thoughts on doing more, or or ideas of doing something different? So, yeah. And with that, we'll be advertising and as much as possible. Yes, Ms.
I
Savvy.
do have a suggestion.
Yes.
That there are quite a few new people on the committee. Maybe sharing the last 5-year plan.
I will.
It makes so much more information.
You know what? What I'll do
Clarification.
I'll do that, and I don't want to inundate y'all with a lot, but I'm going to a little bit. I'm going to send you con plans from other communities that do a really good job. I think that'll be a good. We'll do Prescott and the last one, and then Flagstaff is their next level up there with this program. So I'll get that and I'll send it out. So good reference. Good. You're up.
Sorry, I missed the beginning. Could you start?
It was something about the annual action plan being roads, and what was the con plan? If the annual action plan was a road, the con plan was a freeway. So that was what I was looking for. Your street analogy.
Okay. The con plan is the curbs on the outside, and the annual action plan are the lanes in.
Isn't he good? Isn't he good? He's never retiring. Okay, so the last part of this, very important, the 5-year, just as George alluded to, 5-year con plan sets the stage for the next 5 years, specifically the annual action plans that we'll be doing annually every year. We are always referring back to the con plan. So just a important last note on that. I think that was it. And now any questions, thoughts at this point regarding what we're about to undertake?
Okay. You've got staff announcements and updates.
Staff announcements. I do have one. Our next meeting I have on October 16th at 1:30. Everyone should have that one. And then I have a CDBG good accomplishment, a good story here. The minor home repair program is back and going. We had a couple mid-80s, both fairly with a lot of physical disabilities and whatnot. Their gas line got red tagged, and anyway, what we were able to do, and it wasn't just CDBG, but it was also Unisource. This is pretty incredible. Within a 60-day time period, Unisource was able to extend their line, not with CDBG money. They just understanding the situation that these folks had no money, fixed income, been living in their home since the 1960s. And they extended their line, and then with CDBG money, we were able to extend the line and get them connected where they're gonna have heat for the winter. And I mean, it happened like that. It started as something like, "There's no way. How can we make this work?" Their line was, going through other people's properties. It was a disaster, and within a pretty short period of time, they were very happy. We closed out the case the other day, and they couldn't be more grateful for this program. So real positive thing that we're all doing here. So and I'll try to share those stories as they come up, but that one just happened. Yeah. So that is it. Yeah. Oh.
And I just want to say thank you to Michael for everything you've done. And George, of course, you're late to the party. I've submitted my resignation. I have a new position, so I won't be able to attend the meetings. But I just want to thank Madam Chair for all you've done guiding me through this process and listening and not being offended when I don't always agree with you.
Deb, we appreciate the time you've spent. Truly, truly do. And I think out of us from this past couple of 3 years, realize how much you add to these meetings. So you will be. So I need to replace this vice chair since Deb is leaving. And I've talked to Janie and I've talked to Deb. And it looks like Janie Evans will be the new vice chair starting
Excellent.
next.
Awesome. Thank you.
We'll get that started in our October meeting.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Janie. Okay.
Any other updates or announcements? You don't have a date yet for your workshops?
No, not yet, but that is what I'll be working on.
Okay. Anything else from the board? Then with that, we will adjourn.
Oh,
2:23.
less than an hour.
I need a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Deb Miller, your last motion. I need a second.
I'll second that.
And that would be Janie. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you.